I had been married to Amanda for 7 years, a relationship I believed was rock solid. We shared a beautiful home, exciting dreams, and what I thought was unshakable trust. My best friend Jackson had been part of our lives since college, always around, especially after I got that big promotion that kept me working late. Lately, Amanda had grown distant, checking my phone when she thought I was not looking, asking too many questions about my whereabouts. Something was off, but I never imagined my own best friend was planting seeds of doubt in my wife's mind. If you are watching this from a place where friendship betrayal hit you hard, take a second to hit like and subscribe. Trust me, what happened next might just help you see the warning signs I missed. My career as a software developer had been steadily advancing at Quantum Solutions, a growing tech company in Seattle. The hours were long but rewarding, and I was building a reputation as someone who could solve the toughest coding problems. That is where I was when I met Amanda 8 years ago. She had organized a charity auction for the local children's hospital, and my company had donated some prototype smart home technology. The moment I saw her coordinating everything with such grace and determination, I was captivated. Amanda had this way of making everyone feel special. Her bright blue eyes would focus on you like you were the only person in the room. Her laugh was infectious, and her passion for helping others matched my own desire to create technology that made lives better. We started dating almost immediately, and within a year I had proposed during a hike to her favorite mountain overlook. Our wedding was small but perfect. Close family, a few good friends, and of course Jackson, as my best man. Jackson and I had been roommates throughout college, sharing a cramped dorm room that somehow never felt too small, despite his larger-than-life personality. He was everything I was not. Outgoing where I was reserved, spontaneous where I was methodical, the life of every party while I was usually the one making sure everyone got home safely. In his wedding speech, Jackson had called us brothers, claiming he knew from the first day of freshman orientation that we would be friends for life. He joked about my terrible dating history before Amanda, making everyone laugh with stories of my awkward attempts at romance. What no one noticed was how his eyes lingered on Amanda throughout the reception. After the wedding, Jackson remained a constant in our lives. He would come over for dinner at least once a week, bring us souvenirs from his business trips, and was always available to help with home projects. Amanda liked him, saying he brought a fun energy to our sometimes routine life. I was grateful that my best friend and wife got along so well. Jackson had his own string of relationships, none lasting more than a few months. He would joke that he was just waiting for someone like Amanda, but without the whole being married to my best friend thing. I always laughed it off. What I did not know was that behind every joke lies a kernel of truth. Everything changed when I received a major promotion to project lead on our company's most ambitious initiative yet. It meant more money, more prestige, and unfortunately much longer hours. The first few weeks, Amanda was thrilled about our improved financial situation. We talked about finally starting the family we had been planning, maybe even looking for a bigger house. But as the weeks turned into months of late nights and working weekends, I noticed subtle shifts in our home. Amanda stopped waiting up for me. Dinners were left in the refrigerator rather than kept warm on the stove. The enthusiastic greetings when I walked through the door became brief acknowledgments before she returned to whatever she was doing. What I did not immediately realize was that Jackson had stepped into the void my absence created. He started showing up with takeout when I texted that I would be working late. He took Amanda to movies I was too busy to see. He was being a good friend, or so I thought, keeping her company while I was building our future. The first real sign that something was wrong came when I noticed Amanda becoming increasingly protective of her phone. She would turn it face down when I entered the room, take calls in another room, and I once caught her deleting text messages when I asked to use her phone to make a call when mine was dead. Then came the canceled dinner date. I had specifically cleared my schedule, turned down an important client meeting, and made reservations at La Maison, the French restaurant, where we had celebrated our engagement. 2 hours before we were supposed to leave, Amanda called to say she was not feeling well and wanted to reschedule. When I came home early with soup and her favorite flowers, I found the house empty. Her car was gone, and she did not answer my calls for over an hour. When she finally returned, she claimed she had gone to the pharmacy for medicine, but the only bag she carried was from a boutique across town. I also noticed Amanda going out more frequently with friends I had never met or heard mentioned before. When I asked about these new friends, her answers were vague and inconsistent. One night I came home to hear her on the phone in our bedroom. "I cannot talk about this right now," she whispered urgently. When she saw me in the doorway, she quickly ended the call and claimed it was just her sister. I dismissed my growing concerns, telling myself I was being paranoid due to the stress of my new position. After all, Amanda and I had always been honest with each other. We had built our relationship on trust and communication. Whatever was happening, we would work through it together. I had no idea that the foundation of that trust was being systematically dismantled by someone I considered family. The first concrete hint that something bigger was happening came from my colleague Diane. During a coffee break, she casually mentioned seeing Amanda and Jackson having lunch together at Riverview Restaurant, an upscale place on the other side of the city. "They seemed pretty intense," Diane said, stirring her coffee. I was going to stop by and say hello, but they were leaning in close, talking quietly. Did not want to interrupt what looked like a serious conversation. That night, I casually asked Amanda about her day. She mentioned running errands and having a quick lunch at a sandwich shop near our house. No mention of Jackson or Riverview Restaurant. When I directly asked if she had seen Jackson recently, she hesitated before saying he had stopped by briefly to return a book he had borrowed. The knot in my stomach tightened, but I told myself there could be an innocent explanation. Maybe Diane was mistaken. Maybe it was just a friendly lunch Amanda had forgotten to mention. Still, I could not shake the feeling that something was off. Over the next few weeks, I made a conscious effort to reduce my work hours. I delegated more tasks, took fewer late meetings, and tried to be home by 6 whenever possible. But my attempts to reconnect with Amanda often felt thwarted. Multiple times I arrived home to find Jackson already there, comfortable on our couch, drinking my beer, making Amanda laugh in ways I had not heard in months. What bothered me most was how Jackson had begun subtly undermining me. He would bring up times I had disappointed Amanda in the past, like the anniversary dinner I missed due to a server crash at work. "Remember when Tyler was so busy coding, he forgot your birthday last year? Classic Tyler, always putting work first," he would say with a laugh that did not reach his eyes. Each comment was framed as a joke, but carried the sting of criticism. Amanda began echoing these sentiments, questioning my commitment to our marriage. "Jackson says most tech guys eventually choose their careers over their relationships," she told me one night. "He says I should make sure I am not putting my life on hold for someone who will not do the same for me." The tension between us grew until it finally erupted one Wednesday afternoon. I had wrapped up a project ahead of schedule and decided to surprise Amanda by coming home early. I stopped for flowers and her favorite chocolates, excited to spend an unexpected evening together. When I opened our front door, I heard muffled voices from the living room. Amanda was crying, her face in her hands, while Jackson sat close beside her on the couch, his arm around her shoulders. They both looked up sharply when I entered, and Jackson immediately stood, his posture defensive. "What is going on?" I asked the flowers, suddenly feeling heavy in my hand. Amanda wiped her eyes and gave me a look I had never seen before. A mixture of hurt anger and something else. Disappointment. "How could you, Tyler?" she asked, her voice breaking. "I trusted you completely." "What are you talking about?" Jackson stepped forward, positioning himself slightly between Amanda and me, as if protecting her. "Maybe you should tell your wife where you really were last Friday night. And who you were with." I stood frozen, completely confused. "I was at work. We had the client presentation for the Nortec project. You know this, Amanda. I told you I would be late." Amanda reached for her phone, scrolled through it, and then held it up to show me a photo. It was clearly me sitting at a restaurant table across from Megan, one of our UI designers. The photo was taken from a distance through a window. "This does not look like work to me," Amanda said coldly. "Megan, right. The one you have mentioned staying late to collaborate with." My mind raced. That was a work dinner. The whole team was there, Dave Sunita, the client representatives. We went over the final presentation details. "That is not what I heard," Jackson interjected. "I have a friend who works at that restaurant. They said you two looked very cozy, and you paid with your personal credit card, not the company one. Why would you do that unless you were hiding something?" I felt like I had stepped into an alternate reality. Because the company card had reached its monthly limit after the conference expenses, I filed for reimbursement the next day. "Amanda, you cannot seriously think—" "It is not just this," Amanda interrupted. She began listing other evidence of my supposed infidelity. Unexplained charges on our credit card statement. Birthday gifts for her. I had not given yet mysterious phone calls. I had taken outside discussions with my mother about family, health issues I had not wanted to worry Amanda with, and late nights unaccounted for, actual work, every single one. With growing horror, I realized Jackson had been collecting these normal occurrences and reframing them as evidence of betrayal. Worse, he claimed to have been investigating me for weeks at Amanda's request, though the look on her face told me this investigation had been his initiative, not hers. Amanda, none of this is what it seems. Jackson is twisting everything. I stepped toward her, but she backed away. Why would he lie? He is your best friend, Tyler. That is what I am trying to figure out, I replied, looking directly at Jackson, whose expression remained sympathetic to Amanda, but carried a warning to me. That night I slept on the couch feeling like a stranger in my own home. In the morning, Amanda presented me with an ultimatum: complete transparency or separation. She demanded access to my phone, email, location, sharing at all times, and severely limited work hours. Though it felt deeply invasive and unfair, I agreed immediately. I had nothing to hide and would do anything to save our marriage. What hurt most was that she needed this proof at all. Jackson, who had apparently spent the night in our guest room supporting Amanda, suggested I should give her space to process everything. Maybe you should stay somewhere else for a while, man, he said, his concern seemingly genuine to anyone who did not know him as well as I thought I did. Let her sort through her feelings without pressure. I will keep an eye on things here. Amanda nodded in agreement, and the betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. I packed a suitcase while she watched coldly from the doorway. As I headed to the door, Jackson patted my shoulder. Do not worry. I will take good care of her. There was something in the way he said it that finally triggered my full suspicion. As I drove to a nearby hotel, my sadness began mixing with determination. Something was not right, and I was going to figure out what it was. The hotel room was depressingly generic. Beige walls, floral artwork, a bed that was too soft on one side and too firm on the other. I sat on the edge of it, staring at my phone and the numerous unanswered texts I had sent Amanda. Each one read, but not replied to. Despite her accusations, despite the hurt and confusion, I was determined to save our marriage. But first I needed to understand exactly what was happening. If I was being set up, I needed proof. My first step was to contact Megan, the colleague I had supposedly been having an affair with. We met at a coffee shop, far from both work and my home neighborhood. Tyler, this is crazy, Megan said after I explained the situation. We have barely spoken one-on-one, let alone had some secret relationship. She paused, stirring her latte. But there is something else you should know. Your friend Jackson approached me about a month ago, asking really strange questions about our working relationship. What kind of questions? I asked, feeling a chill. He wanted to know if we ever worked alone together, if you had ever mentioned problems in your marriage, if I had noticed you acting differently lately. He framed it as concern for you, said you had seemed depressed, and he was checking with colleagues to see if they had noticed too. It felt off, but I figured he was just being a protective friend. That night, back in my lonely hotel room, I combed through my text messages, emails, and call logs. I discovered several messages to Amanda that I had supposedly sent but had no memory of writing subtle things like last-minute cancellations of plans or cold responses to her affectionate messages. Most disturbing was a text to an unknown number that read, "Can't wait to see you again. Same time tomorrow, Tyler." I had never sent that message, had no idea who the number belonged to, and it had been deleted from my sent history, only visible in the phone company records I had requested. I called my friend Ryan, who worked in cybersecurity. He agreed to meet immediately, and after examining my phone, confirmed my suspicions. Someone installed spyware on your device, he said gravely. They have had access to everything: texts, emails, location, data. Even worse, they could send messages as you. When was the last time your phone was out of your possession for an extended period? I thought back and remembered leaving my phone on the coffee table when Jackson and I watched the game at my house 3 months ago. I had fallen asleep on the couch, and when I woke up, Jackson was on his phone. I had thought nothing of it at the time. Ryan helped me secure my accounts and devices, but the damage was already done. Someone and I was increasingly certain it was Jackson had been systematically creating a false narrative of my infidelity. The next day I dug deeper. I spoke with colleagues who confirmed Jackson had been spreading subtle rumors at my workplace. He mentioned being worried about you working so closely with the women on your team, one coworker told me. Said Amanda was concerned. We all thought it was strange, but he is your best friend, so. Then I discovered Jackson had been taking Amanda to comfort dinners, while I was banished to the hotel. A mutual friend mentioned seeing them together looking very close at an intimate restaurant across town. I was surprised to see them alone together, she said, especially with how affectionate Jackson seemed to be. Is everything okay with you two? But the most damning evidence came from social media. Jackson had been careful, but not careful enough. A deep dive into his accounts revealed numerous photos of Amanda going back years, many taken when I was not present. Comments that once seemed friendly now read as possessive. In a locked album I gained access to through a mutual friend's account, I found dozens of pictures of Amanda, some clearly taken without her knowledge. The obsession was obvious and disturbing. Armed with this evidence, I returned home unannounced. I used my key to enter quietly and heard voices from the kitchen. I moved silently down the hallway, not to spy, but to understand what I was walking into. You deserve so much better. Amanda Jackson was saying, his voice soft and persuasive. Tyler has never appreciated what he has in you. I have watched for years as he took you for granted. I just cannot believe he would cheat, Amanda replied, her voice thick with emotion. It does not seem like him. People hide their true selves, Jackson said. Look at all the evidence. The messages, the late nights, the secretive behavior. You know what you need to do. File for divorce, make a clean break. I will be there for you every step. You always are, Amanda said with a sigh. Because I care about you, Amanda, more than he ever did. More than maybe I should admit. That was enough. I stepped into the kitchen, folder of evidence in hand. I think it is time we all had an honest conversation, I said. They both jumped. Jackson recovered first, his face shifting from shock to concern with practiced ease. Tyler, this is inappropriate. Amanda asked for space. No, what is inappropriate is you manipulating my wife and sabotaging my marriage, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. I turned to Amanda, whose face showed confusion and alarm. I have been doing some investigating of my own. I laid out everything I had discovered, the spyware, the fake messages, the rumors at work, and finally the evidence of Jackson's long-standing obsession with my wife. As I spoke, I watched Amanda's expression change from disbelief to horror. Jackson tried to interrupt several times, but I continued calmly and methodically presenting evidence for each accusation. This is ridiculous, Jackson finally sputtered when I finished. He is clearly making all of this up to cover his tracks. Amanda, you know me. Would I do something like this? Amanda looked between us, years of friendship with Jackson warring with her love for me. The spyware, she said quietly. Show me proof of the spyware. I pulled out Ryan's detailed report complete with timestamps and access logs. As Amanda read it, Jackson's demeanor changed. His friendly mask began to slip. So what if I looked at his messages, he said defensively. I was trying to protect you. I had suspicions he was cheating and needed to confirm them. By creating fake evidence, I asked. By sending messages pretending to be me. Jackson's face reddened. You never deserved her. 7 years I have watched you take her for granted. 7 years I have been there supporting her when you were too busy with your precious career. Amanda stood up slowly. You lied to me, Jackson. You manipulated me into thinking the man I love was betraying me. I did it because I love you. Jackson burst out, the truth finally emerging. I have always loved you from the moment I saw you. Tyler knew how I felt about you in college, but he pursued you anyway. This was news to both Amanda and me. I had never known about Jackson's feelings before we met. Even if that were true, I said it does not justify trying to destroy our marriage. You were going to figure it out. Eventually, Jackson said, his voice quieter now, almost resigned. I knew you were too smart to fall for it completely, but I had to try. She deserves someone who puts her first. Someone like you, Amanda, asked, her voice sharp with hurt and anger. Yes, I would never choose work over you. I would never leave you alone night after night. I know everything about you, your fears, your dreams, what makes you happy. I have been right here waiting for you to see me. The desperation in his voice was painful to hear. In that moment, despite everything he had done, I felt a flicker of pity for my former friend. His obsession had consumed him so completely that he had justified the unthinkable. Jackson, Amanda said firmly, what we had was friendship, nothing more. You betrayed that friendship and my trust in the worst possible way. I need you to leave, now. Amanda, please. Leave, she repeated, her voice breaking. I never want to see you again. Jackson looked between us, searching for any sign of relenting. Finding none, his expression hardened. Fine. Enjoy your cheating husband. When he does it for real next time, do not come crying to me. He grabbed his jacket and stormed toward the door, but paused to look back at me. She will never trust you completely again. I made sure of that. Remember that every time you see doubt in her eyes. With that final poisonous comment, he left. The front door slammed so hard a picture fell from the wall, the glass shattering on the floor, a fitting metaphor for what had happened to our lives. After Jackson left, a heavy silence filled our home. Amanda stood frozen, staring at the broken picture frame on the floor. It was our wedding photo, now cracked down the middle. Finally, she collapsed into a chair and began to sob deep, painful cries that seemed to come from the core of her being. I wanted to comfort her, to hold her, and tell her everything would be okay. But I was not sure that was true, and I was not sure she wanted my touch. So I sat across from her, giving her space while letting her know I was there. I am so sorry, she finally whispered, her voice raw from crying. I should have trusted you. I should have known you would never. You were manipulated by someone we both trusted, I said gently. He knew exactly which insecurities to target. Amanda looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. But that is just it. I let him plant those seeds of doubt. There was a part of me that was afraid you had outgrown me, that with your new promotion and success you would find someone more exciting, more accomplished. Her honesty hurt, but we needed this truth between us if we were ever going to heal. I have never wanted anyone but you, I said. Not for a single moment since the day we met. My job takes time away from us, but it has never taken my heart away from you. Amanda nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes, the exact doubt Jackson had predicted. He may have been gone from our lives, but his poison remained. That night we slept in the same bed for the first time in weeks, but with a careful distance between us. The familiar comfort of our marriage had been replaced by something fragile and uncertain. We were both afraid to say the wrong thing, to cause more pain. In the morning we had the first of many difficult conversations about our future. Amanda suggested we separate temporarily to gain perspective. I need to understand how I could have been so easily manipulated, she explained. And you need time to decide if you can forgive me for not trusting you. It was the most painful decision we had ever made, but we both knew it was necessary. I moved into a small apartment, and we established a schedule for talking and seeing each other. We also both began seeing therapists individually and eventually started marriage counseling together. Those first few sessions were brutal. All our insecurities, resentments, and fears were laid bare. I had to confront my anger at being falsely accused, and my hurt that Amanda had trusted Jackson over me. Amanda had to work through her guilt and shame about believing the worst of me, as well as her feelings of violation at being the object of Jackson's obsession. I keep thinking about all those times he was in our home watching me planning this, she said during one session. It makes me feel dirty, like I need to scrub away his presence. Our therapist, Dr. Bennett, helped us see that rebuilding trust would be a long process. Both of you have experienced a profound betrayal by someone you considered family, she explained. That kind of trauma does not heal overnight. Slowly, painfully, we began to reconnect. We started with short coffee dates, where we would talk about neutral topics, books, movies, news. Then we progressed to deeper conversations about our feelings, our fears, our hopes for the future. We established new patterns of communication, promising to voice concerns immediately rather than letting them fester. 3 months into our separation, Amanda called me one evening. I drove past our old college campus today, she said. I remembered how you used to bring me coffee during my late-night study sessions, even though you had early classes the next day. You have always taken care of me, Tyler. I was a fool to forget that. It was a small moment, but it felt like a turning point. A month later, we made the decision to sell our house. There were too many painful memories there, too many spaces tainted by Jackson's presence. We found a smaller place closer to the city, a fresh start for both of us. As we built our new home together, we also rebuilt our social connections. We were more careful now, more selective about who we let into our inner circle. We established clear boundaries and became more attuned to the warning signs of toxic relationships. My company was understanding about my need for better work-life balance. I negotiated a more flexible schedule and made it clear that while I was committed to my job, my marriage was my priority. It meant slower advancement, but that was a trade-off I was happy to make. Amanda found a new passion working with a nonprofit that helped victims of manipulation and psychological abuse. If I can use what happened to us to help others recognize the signs earlier, maybe some good can come from this, she told me. 6 months after Jackson's final exit from our lives, Amanda planned a special dinner at home. She cooked my favorite meal and set the table with candles and our new dishes. Nothing from our old life. "I want to make a toast," she said, raising her glass, "to new beginnings and hard-earned wisdom." We clinked glasses, and for the first time in what felt like forever, her smile reached her eyes. After dinner, we sat on our new couch, her head on my shoulder, and talked about the future in a way we had not been able to for a long time. "I want us to renew our vows," Amanda said suddenly. "Not a big ceremony, just us. I want to make promises to you that reflect what we know now, not just what we hoped for when we were younger." A month later, on a quiet beach at sunrise, we spoke new vows to each other. Promises about communication and trust, about never taking each other for granted, about choosing each other every day. As the sun rose fully over the horizon, I felt something hard and painful inside me finally begin to dissolve. Looking back now, I can see the warning signs I missed with Jackson. The possessiveness disguised as protectiveness. The subtle ways he tried to position himself between Amanda and me. The comments that planted seeds of doubt on both sides. I should have recognized his jealousy for what it was, but I was blinded by years of friendship and trust. What I have learned is that true friendship uplifts and supports. It does not seek to control or possess. Real love wants the best for someone, even when that does not include you. Jackson never loved Amanda. He wanted to own her, to make her dependent on him. That is not love. It is obsession. Amanda and I are stronger now, both individually and as a couple. We do not take each other's love for granted. We communicate more openly and honestly. We recognize that trust is both precious and fragile, requiring constant care and attention. The hardest lesson was learning to forgive, not just Amanda forgiving me for my absence, or me forgiving her for her doubt, but both of us forgiving ourselves. We were not perfect partners, and that made us vulnerable to manipulation. Acknowledging those imperfections has allowed us to grow beyond them. We have also learned the liberating power of cutting toxic people from our lives. Jackson was not the only friendship we reevaluated. We became more discerning about who we allowed into our inner circle, choosing to surround ourselves with people who demonstrate integrity and genuine care. Life is too short for relationships that drain rather than sustain you. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away from people who cannot celebrate your happiness or support your growth. True friends want to see your relationship thrive. Anyone who tries to come between you and the person you love is not acting in friendship. Today, Amanda and I are planning for the family we always wanted. Our new home has a room waiting to be turned into a nursery. We are moving forward with hope and a hard-earned wisdom about what truly matters in life and love. Have you ever had to cut someone from your life who was toxic or manipulative? How did you rebuild afterward? I would love to hear your experiences in the comments below. And if this story helped you recognize any warning signs in your own relationships, please like and subscribe to help others find this channel too. Remember, sometimes the hardest people to set boundaries with are those closest to us, but your peace and happiness are worth protecting. Thank you for listening, and I wish you relationships filled with genuine love and respect.